Good evening and welcome back. My name is Steven and I will be going over today how I was able to turn my ungraded Charizard EX Special Illustration Rare into a PSA 10 Gem Mint. So I originally pulled this card back in early December out of a 151 poster collection, and I was super excited to see that I got this card. However, upon further inspection, I noticed that there was this dent at the very top, which would have for sure held it back from getting a PSA 10. In my mind, I was so sure that this was going to come back a 9, so I then tried to fix this myself. And before I go into the steps that I took to try to fix it, I just want to briefly go over what a Gem Mint PSA 10 is. So the Gem Mint 10 is usually awarded to a card that is virtually perfect. All four corners have to be perfectly rounded. There has to be a sharp focus along with full original gloss or texture. And if you're lucky, you can get away with one slight imperfection. However, I felt like this dent was not slight. I felt like it was something rather significant. But in some rare cases, you may get away with two things. It all depends on if the grader is having a good day or not. So mainly what PSA is looking for is that they're looking for the surface on the front and the back side of the card, making sure that there's no print lines, and they're also looking for centering. Centering used to be a little bit more forgiving. However, now in February, they recently changed their standards. Their standards originally was 40-60, which means that, let's say if we were talking about the left versus the right, it has to be 40 on the left and 60 on the right. So it was allowed to be off-centered a little bit, meaning that the right side could have been a little bit bigger than the left. And that also goes for top and down as well. Now the centering is supposed to be 45-55 on the front, and on the back you can get away with 40-60 centering. So of course it's a lot harder now to get a PSA 10 versus prior to February of this year. All right, and PSA is pretty much a very reputable source when it comes to Pokemon. They've pretty much been around since 1991, but they more so focused on sports trading cards. All right, so let's go ahead and get into how I was actually able to do what I did. All right, so I have a card here, this Alakazam that I pulled earlier out of today's opening. Just even judging this card initially, the centering might be off a little bit left to right, but I would say that this is more so 40 on the left, 60 on the right. It might get away with 45-55, but this is a card that I wouldn't really submit to grading, mostly because of some of the whiteness that you see here. You can see one at the bottom there, actually two. You can see one on the corner, another one on the edge. This one also has a little bit of whitening as well, if you can see. This corner also has another speck, and there's another speck here, along with a print imperfection right where my thumb is. Okay, so mainly when you do grade, what PSA wants you to do is they want you to pretty much penny sleeve your card, and then after you're done with that, you put it into a top loader, and actually not a top loader, a card saver. So once you have it in a card saver, this is when you're able to then submit it to PSA. All right, so this is how I actually fix my dent. So I had everything in here, and as you can see, the Charizard, the dent was somewhere up at the top, which looking at it here, you can't even see it now. I was actually trying to look so hard at all different angles, and I can't even find it now, which after I was finished, it was barely there. I was able to see it in some certain lighting. So With your card inside a penny sleeve and the card saver, you then want to try to find something that is very smooth. So what I have here is one of my son's rubber rings, which is pretty much perfectly rounded. It's also rubber, so it's not too hard. So mainly what I did was I just started working away from the edge. You want to go soft initially, and then after that, you want to retake the card out, examine it again, see how it looks like. And if you're not happy with the results, you just keep on rinsing and repeating until you finally get it to where you want it to look. But doing this also puts you at risk for damaging the card, so I would recommend trying to practice on a card that you don't like initially. So when it comes to grading, I used GameStop. GameStop recently started allowing you to send your cards to PSA to get graded, and that has worked out very well for me. So like I was saying before, how you grade, you want to pretty much put your cards in a penny sleeve, then place it into a top loader. I mean, not a top loader, a card saver, and then it's ready to go, ready to be submitted. So a couple things to know about GameStop. Yes, you could have a pro membership that would benefit you because you wouldn't have to be paying for shipping for the cards. Also, having a pro membership, you also do get $5 a month, which does take off the total amount. And then every card, it used to cost $15.99 prior to February, and then after February, now everything costs $18.99 per card. And the usual turnaround time is 45 business days. It is taking a lot longer now. I currently have about 60 cards out, divided up between 3 submissions. So once I do get those back, I will do a PSA reveal for those. But just talking about this Charizard now. So currently, as it stands right now, TCG Player values this card at $290, ungraded. A PSA 9 also fetches that same price. However, when it goes to a PSA 10, PSA currently has this card estimated at $900. And if you were to go on eBay right now, this same exact card is most likely bidding up close to $1,000. So getting a PSA 10, yes, is very hard. It is doable. You just also have to have a good eye at being able to look at the card, seeing if there's anything wrong, and if you feel like there's one imperfection, it might get a 10. 2, you're looking at it bumping down to a 9, possibly an 8. All right, well, I hope this video helps, and if you have that same issue, hopefully you're able to fix it and also get a PSA 10. All right, take care. Until next time.